So you're starting out your lawn and landscape business and you're wondering, should I price my services, my landscape projects, should I price them less to get more work? If that's you, you're going through this thought process. This video is to try to get over this hump and get through what should I do, navigate that situation. Before we get into that though, I'm Jacob Godar. I'm the owner of Scooter's Lawn Care. I'm also the owner of GROW Comm. We have done a ton of cool things in the lawn and landscape area, from big paver projects to lanai lighting to landscape lighting and everything in between, all the maintenance, all the spraying lawns, now starting a dealership and being so engulfed in this industry. I see so many people asking that question and wondering, do I start with a lower price? Do I underbid things? Do I try to be cutthroat? And so the short answer is no, but there's a lot more that goes into this. Don't go off the video just because I said no, because there's a lot more to this than just that one little piece. I want to preface that no with I understand when you get in and you get started that you may realize you can be profitable at a lower number, and so you may start a little bit lower on some levels and a little bit less. But what I see a lot of people doing is comparing to other people's prices and then being like, well, they're $55 an hour, so I'm going to price at $50 to start my business. And that's not the right direction. So that's really point number one. Do not look at other people's businesses. They charge $55 an hour, so I'm going to start my business and charge $50 so I can go out there and get more work. I can steal market share. That's a poor way to do it. When you look at someone else's business, you don't know that they don't have a failing business that isn't financially doing well, that isn't already going downhill. So you could see a bigger company, much bigger than you with a bunch of cost, charging a price that you are going to charge less than try to be cutthroat and get more work. I understand the thought process. There's so much more that goes into it. Now, the second piece of this is you really have to charge what it costs you to do business. That's why in GROW Comm and everything else, we talk so much about knowing your numbers. Knowing your numbers is huge. You need to know exactly what it takes you to run your business. And that's not a super, super hard number. Don't overthink this. It is very basic, but when you're starting off, you have a mower, you have a trailer, and we're just looking at if you're mowing lawns. I have some small equipment to do some little maintenance, and I just total that up, and I say that, hey, this stuff, the big stuff like the truck and trailer are gonna last 5 years, and then some of this other stuff's only gonna last a year, and I really look at, hey, some of that's gotta be recovered in a year, some of that's gotta be recovered in 5 years, and just break down a price of how much I need to factor in to recover for that stuff. And really, if you just say it all needs to be recovered in 5 years, whatever, it's fine. I'm overcomplicating this because I love numbers and it's really, really easy to go off in the weeds. So really total everything you have and then break it down and divide it by 5. That's saying it needs to be recovered in 5 years. And then that unit you get from there, you can divide that by 12, which is gonna say in a year, this is what you need to charge per month to your overhead. And when I say overhead, I'm thinking about whatever CRM you use, whatever truck, your mower, all those things, like all the bills, your shop you rent, or a little bit of money towards like if you're using an office space at home, anything like that. Once you know all that, now we can look at that number. And now, if someone is charging $55, then I know if it says I can charge $50 with my 20% profit, everything baked in and be good and make that, then yes, I can operate as less, right? And I could operate at a little bit lower and going into the market. And you will be able to do that. You will be able to have a lower number going in. But the biggest caveat of the whole thing comes up with my final point. Should you charge less? I said no. And that no really was kinda, but maybe is what that no was. Like maybe you shouldn't, but maybe you could kind of deal. Because the final piece is the biggest caveat of everything. And it's all about when you come into market, you don't have many expenses. And you look at it like that. And the problem is no one adjusts that and then they start adding employees. So they come into market where they're at and what they can charge and make money. Then they start adding employees, more assets, this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden they're fucking broke. And they don't know why they're broke. But they've never changed their price prices, and you've built such a large book of stuff that now you've got a bucket that's bleeding at every single hole in that entire bucket. So here is the caveat to me saying that you could charge less. You also need to anticipate where you're going to be in the future. So let me give you a little bit of a play of how I operated when we just started in Florida back in 2021. I came in and I knew where the market was for mowing. I went above the market price for mowing, but much lower than I necessarily wanted to price because my numbers justified me being able to, even a little bit in the future. And at first I got really frustrated, and I was focusing on landscaping anyway, but I got really frustrated because I was like, man, I would like to pick up some mowing, but we're just not getting any. And that's what's so easy to think that you lower the price and all of a sudden you're gonna give it a bunch of mowing. And that's not what happens. So I stuck to my guns. I stayed at the price that was a little bit lower than I wanted to be, but I stuck with that because I wanted to be a little bit easier to get into the market, and I didn't drop that price to some silly number just because we weren't getting a bunch. And what started happening is we started getting more and more and more. It started ramping up. And as soon as I saw the ramp, because I know I wanted our prices to change in the future, so really what it is having a little bit of future anticipation of where you're wanting to go pricing because of what you're wanting to build. For us, I want a $20 million, $50 million, $100 million company in Florida. And so I need to ramp up the pricing to make sure it can sustain that stuff and make sure we have good cash flow coming from all different sectors of the business. So as soon as that sales started to ramp up, I started setting metrics. I said, okay, cool. Well, at 50 lawns, we're going to do a price raise. And then at 75 lawns, we're going to do a price raise. And at 85 lawns, we're going to do a price raise. Because I had it set up where I didn't want to get over one crew of mowing, so we hockey sticked our prices. It took a long time to get the traction rolling. Then once the traction started rolling, it started hockey sticking. It started getting uncontrollable. So we started to pepper the brakes, and it still kept going, it still kept going, it still kept going. And then I really started to evaluate our prices based off of our second step, knowing where you should be, and then our last step, in the future, knowing where you should be. I tied those two together, and based off that information, I was able to figure out that we needed to be at X price. And so I steered new pricing based to that. And we did all of this in a 15-month time span. All these price changes, all of this ramp up. And then what did we do? We went back to the very, very beginning list and raised their prices once we built a book, because we knew we didn't want to go over 100. We'll raise all these prices, get them maybe not all the way up to where we are now, but a little bit higher, and then we'll lose a few of those from doing that. You need to not be scared about raising prices. You don't lose. You lose like 5%, which is nothing. And they're probably the 5% that's potentially giving you the most issues as well. So you'll lose some problems and your company will get better, and you'll be able to serve all the people that aren't issues even better, because you don't have someone calling the office all the time over minor things that you can try. There's always people that you can try as hard as you possibly can. You cannot make them happy. So that was a lot more information than you probably thought you were going to get right from the beginning of this. And when you see how shortly we ramped those prices up, that's the biggest problem. I hope you stuck around to the end. If you did, leave in the comments that I heard this part, because this is the most important. People grow their businesses. They start getting a lot of traction. They don't get offices. They don't get help, so they don't get to focus on things like numbers. And all of a sudden, they've grown, they've done all this, and they never raise the prices. They didn't raise the prices 4 or 5 times in the first 15 months like we did to anticipate the future. They just said, oh cool, we're growing. And you're growing a cancer that is no profitability all the way to the end, because a lot of people don't even look at what it costs to run a business, and then they do that, and then they for sure fly it off the cliff. They don't build the plane on the way down, they die. Their company dies. They lose it all. They shut it down. And they're like, well, I just didn't make any money. And then you're another statistic of all the jackasses out there that say you can't make any money mowing. There's always someone who is saying you can't make money in Florida, or you can't make money here. If there's somebody out there, there is someone making money doing it. If you are a person saying you cannot make money, it's because you're not doing the right things. You just need to get the right information and take the plane or take the boat or take the truck, whatever it is, in the right direction in the future. So know where you need to be. If where you need to be is a little bit under market, cool. Adjust that as you start to scale up. Now, if you aspire to just be a guy in a truck with maybe a helper for the rest of your life, you're not gonna have to make as many adjustments. Your costs are always gonna be so much lower than mine. But I don't think any of us should aspire to be less than we know we can be. I know all of us could have bigger, better companies that provide for more people. If you're going out there, you could be a single person in a truck and do that for somebody else. If you're going out there and you're starting a company, I'm really starting to think that it is your duty to grow that so you can hire more people, so more people in the industry can have jobs, you can build a good company, you can give more financial security to your family, and then you can build a team where overall you can build a lot of opportunity for a lot of people. So I hope this has helped you out. I know it's helped you out because that's a question that everybody goes through. And you get into that pinch where you're like, man, nobody's ever gonna accept and I need to lower it more. That's not the answer. That's not how this works. You just please, for my sake, hold on. Just hold on. You will get through this. You will get more work. Somehow, if you have faith, it will all work out. So thank you so much for watching this. Quick ask before you get off here. If you got value out of this, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share this with a friend that you know that's starting a business and they're talking to you about undercutting everybody because they're just going to make the market have more frustrations and more turbulence, but you're gonna sell yourself short. That's the real problem. So everybody, hope to see you soon. Later on.